How's it going, people? So this is the extended version of Associates Exposed Part 6C with Tank, Paul Yokoyama and Kim, Disbarred, Lawyer and Fake Trust. So this version has a 45-minute video of Tank and Paul Yokoyama discussing the Manna World Holding Trust and the trusts that they were trying to sell to create members, to Kim's members and Thomas Williams's Truth, Honor, Integrity, the People's Club. So this is the full version, which is not on the internet anywhere apart from here on Team Bubba. So you can watch that. You can skip the first bit and go straight to the video with them in it if you like. But please smash a like. Really would appreciate that. Thanks very much and take care. So this week we're going to be talking about Tank, Paul Yokoyama and Kim. Now, I'm going to play a video for you in a minute, which will go through the Tank and Kim. They took this video down quite after a few months of it being up. And I think it was when we called out Paul Yokoyama as being a disbarred lawyer. Yes, he was a lawyer, as we'll show you in a minute. But Kim brought him on board before Tank and him made this video. Kim used him for a so-called Manna World Holding Trust documentation that she used to send out to companies and countries to try and swindle them out of money. Paul Yokoyama also, he set up a lot of the businesses for Kim that was going on in the background, and one that Thomas Williams didn't know, that he actually provided all of the information for the People's Club Trust, that foundation. He was the one that did the legal side of it, and Thomas thought everything was coming from Kim. Now, do we know all this information? Because we had an insider, and we've come across some quite good information. We were told that Paul Yokoyama was on board as part of Kim's team in the background, and he only come to the front end of it when Tank was struggling. He needed to bring in some money, and Kim said use Paul Yokoyama, and they got a video together and they started to push out some information saying that if all those people that wanted to get funding from Kim's trust, remember a lot of people was looking at humanitarian trusts, humanitarian projects. The only way that you would get a project off the ground and funded is if you had a trust. And the only way you could get a trust would be to get it through the Camelot website, which is run via Create Change, which is Tank and Paul Yokoyama, and also the Yokoyama legal website that Paul set up. Now, there's some fees in there, which we'll go into in a minute. But this is the kind of thing where people don't understand that where do they make their money? Well, this is where you're going to find out today how they make their money, and a lot of money was made through this. We're talking about 8,000 to 10,000 people at a time were signing up for this because they thought they were going to get project funding. Remember, when Tank come on board, he brought a lot of the people that were in with the RV and all that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a video with Tank and Paul Yokoyama. Now, it's only small clips. Now, remember, this was taken down because this was shut down not long after Thomas Williams found out that, well, I'm led to believe that he found out that there was money being made. A lot of the cult members in the THI were getting really upset about having to have a trust, and he got into a discussion with Kim, and they pulled the plug on it. After making a lot of money, Thomas Williams must have thought, well, I'm not getting a cut of this money. How come they're making hundreds of thousands, probably up into £1 million, dollars, I mean, and he got nothing from it. And this is what we're being told from one of our insiders. Now, I'm going to show you this video now, where they go into the trust and to show you what type of person this Paul Yokoyama is. And he was a lawyer, he was disbarred, and we'll go into a bit more after this video.
Listen up. Hello, everybody. My name is Tank, and I am here with my legal representation, Paul Yokoyama, who has been a lawyer for 35 years, something like that.
Something like that, yes, sir.
So we're going to get down to some of the basic things that I talked about in yesterday's post. And Paul's going to give us some perspective from a legal standpoint. And he's going to talk about the legal structure that we have set up so that we can safely bring in funding. And we're working to make sure that that's in harmony with the Manna World Holding Trust. So yesterday I mentioned that you have some issues. Now, one of the things that's happening right now is you have the global currency reset is, everyone keeps thinking the global currency reset is going to come. So on Monday, the mercenaries who showed up to take care of Kim Possible up in the safe zone, they showed up and expected to get paid on Monday. Of course, they did not get paid because the Rothschilds no longer had the ability, the authority, the codes, the access, or the intelligence to bring in the money to fund anyone. So again, here we are in a very sticky situation. Now, the U.S. Treasury has informed Kim that the government will need $800 million to maintain their basic operations by this Friday. So that's tomorrow. Now, as of Tuesday, they had not given her a formal request to bring that money in part because Nancy Pelosi informed the government that the Rothschilds said that they are going to bring that $800 million in. Now, when they fail miserably, as they do every single time, what will happen is they will probably want to bring money in from the Manna World Holding Trust. My hope is that the best possible way to do that is for Kim to say she'll, of course, bring that money in because she doesn't want anyone suffering. But in the meantime, we have thousands of projects worldwide that are not getting funded, and I don't think any of that money should be brought in to the mainstream, to the government even, until those projects get funded. All of that money that goes out to all the projects worldwide would immediately jumpstart the economy, and it would put money in the hands of good people. So it's very important that when that happens, which I think we're right on the cusp of that taking place right now, that we bring the money in a way that is safe. We don't want to refuel our enemy, bring in money and then turn right around and spend it with them and give away the products. So Paul's here. He's going to talk about how we're going to do that. So Paul, explain the kind of basic structure, like how you see us bringing this money in safely and what you set up.
Okay, well, we had long conversations with Kim and also some business specialists who know a lot about taxes and trusts, and we came up with a structure that is using an unincorporated entity, which we call the Guardian of Camelot, which is going to receive the money from the Manna World Holding Trust. And then we have set up a structure of irrevocable trusts underneath the Guardian of Camelot, one of which will be the Create Change Irrevocable Trust. Each of the people that we're calling them project affiliates that will be funded will have to have an irrevocable trust underneath Create Change and the Guardian of Camelot. In this way, I can explain to you a little bit about why we're using an irrevocable trust. It's a common law trust. But the reason we're doing it is so that we can maintain control of where the funds are going to be going. You will own the funds if you're a project affiliate, as you're the owner of your, basically the trustee of the irrevocable trust, but the money will leave the Guardian of Camelot, leave the Manna World Holding Trust, and will no longer be owned by them. And that's an important step for Kim. She has to get the money to the people. So that's one of the reasons why we set up the structure like this.
Right.
I did update my website. It's at pyokoyama.net, which has some tabs in there regarding this, explaining why we're doing it this way.
And I'll make sure to put that up there. Really, we've dedicated ourselves to getting this done. The point is to rejuvenate humanity, period. And it's very hard to do that and make sure that we're not compromised. So because of that, that's why I don't sell any products, and that's why we don't advertise and things of that nature, because I want people to get the truth, and I don't want to be influenced by any outside sources. So I do my best to give that to you. Now, I haven't talked to Thomas Williams about this yet, but we're going to make, if I understand correctly, we're going to make it available to all the people from Create Change, and also everyone from the People's Club, which is Thomas's group, and make it so that people can affordably set up the legal structure. And I'm going to work, I'm assuming, I'm hoping, this is something Thomas has talked about many times, about setting up a structure that is safe, right? So the structure that is safe here, in this case, is this is an unincorporated, tax-exempt association. Now, the association has certain bylaws, right? So in other words, the people that receive the money will operate in accordance with natural law. They will operate in the best interest of humanity, the planet, and the individual human experience. Now, the reason why that's so important is because depending on who you are, if you believe, which is what's happening to us right now, this is what the cabal, mode of operations is they can justify, for example, say they decide, well, we don't like Jewish people. So they decide to drop a nuclear bomb on Israel. They could justify it as being in the best interest of humanity because now they got rid of all of these Jewish people. Now, that's what we want to avoid, is that kind of ignorance. So the reality is every individual human being is a universe unto themselves, and we want to respect that, the beauty of that individual's contribution to the world. And every individual has that ability to contribute in that way. And for the people that want to contribute in that way, on a larger level, what has happened is that the trustee of the Manna World Holding Trust, for the first time in history, this fund of this magnitude is making those funds available to regular people. So traditionally, regular people couldn't have this kind of money. They couldn't go and really bring their dreams to life. And even if they did bring their dreams to life, the order, the cabal, the deep state, they would turn around and they would find a way to take it back, And so that's been the recurring cycle. So the reason why these things are taking so long is because Kim, who we affectionately call Kim Possible, has been setting up the structure. She's been building the cybersecurity. She's been working and negotiating terms with governments all over the world. At this point, every government in the world realizes that all of the funds and all of the assets are held inside of the Manna World Holding Trust. And furthermore, the reason why every time you hear the RV is going to happen, the global currency reset is going to happen, and it doesn't, is because they take some old, outdated code book that worked for the trustees that used to be there. Now, the trustees that used to be part of the Manna World Holding Trust, that was also known as the Dragon Family Trust, the Unknown Country is what it's registered as in the intelligence systems and the United Nations system, that basically the black servers that map everything. Now, in that system, it was always known as the Unknown Country. So it's still, to this day, is registered that way. And Kim just changed the name to the Manna World Holding Trust. But in reality, it's the central bank. It's actually its own central bank in its own country. And it's the central bank that covers all the other central banks. And now that's inclusive of the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve is really answers to the trust, and it always has. So Kim has locked those things down. So the way that they would transfer traditionally and be able to do things and embezzle money, they're no longer able to do. But the banking system right now is surviving using kiting, basically. So kiting, Paul, tell me if I got this right. So kiting is basically like, I write you a check for $1 million, but I don't have any money in my account. Right. Your account registers the $1 million. You write a check back to me for $1 million. Now I have $1 million in my account, and then we just keep doing that back and forth until we build up money, but it's never really there. There's no money there. Now, the entire banking system is insolvent. They don't have money. So that brings us to the government shutdown, right? So the government shutdown is talking about doing a release in force, right? So a RIF. And a lot of people are excited, saying now what Trump is waiting for is once the government shut down for 30 days, they're going to do a release in force, and he's going to get rid of organizations like the SES. Which, talk about the SES. What is that group?
It's a secret. Well, what's it stand for? I forget what it stands for.
Senior executive
staff, and it's a there's different levels in the government that they call them GS numbers. It used to be that you could only go up to a GS 15, which is the highest level, and they have a salary structure. What the Congress did is they set forth a GS 16, 17, and 18 level, and allowed people to be appointed by the president to be members of the SES. And it's hidden. We don't know who they are. And they have government immunity. They are not allowed to be prosecuted for anything. All kinds of rules dealing with that staff.
They have clearance level too, right? Like
high clearance level, yeah.
So high clearance level, a ghost organization within our government that our taxes go to pay, and we don't know who they are or what they do for that matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that exists now. We figured out the numbers, at least from the Obama administration, who appointed
something like 8,000.
Okay, so 8,000 people. So you'd roughly, just based on the average expenditure for each employee, if you were just to lay off those people, who we don't even know who they are, but we just stopped giving them a paycheck, you'd make up about $2.5 billion, right?
Right.
So $2.5 billion with one group of ghost employees who we don't know who they are or what they do. Now, if there was a release in force after 30 days and you just let go of them, which we both agree in our assessment that is clearly deeply entrenched of the whole deep state, right?
Right. Well, yeah, originally the deep state didn't include the SES, but since the term deep state has now become a normal word on CNN and CNBC, the new deep state is actually the SES, people that we don't even know who they are. They're government officials, they're corporate executives, they're just powerful people that we don't even know who they are.
Now, this is public though, because a lot of times people challenge like that this is a conspiracy theory, but in reality, this exists, right? This is on public record.
Right. Yeah, it's public record if you look it up.
Okay. So now, here's the problem with actually doing a release in force. One of the issues with doing a release in force is that when you have a government furlough for 30 days, then you can do a release in force. But the one time you're not supposed to be able to do it is if it's an emergency and the appropriations are not available. Now, if that's the case, you cannot do a release in force, is my understanding.
That's according to the rules. But the way we're looking at it is the funds are available. That's the kind of the elephant in the room. They're saying that Donald Trump is the one shutting the government down. He's not shutting the government down. And first of all, the president can't shut the government down. It's the Appropriations Committee that makes the decision whether funds that are there can be released to pay the government. Generally, the funds would come from supposedly our tax dollars. And then we always had a deficit of something like $800 billion, and that money would be borrowed from the Federal Reserve. So what we're seeing is there is no Federal Reserve anymore. The money is coming from the Manna World Holding Trust, obviously. And so basically, nobody's talking about that. All these government people, they set a budget, $4 trillion, and they assume that it's already funded. It doesn't make any sense. It's not funded. There is no more Federal Reserve. There are no Chinese elders. The Rothschilds are not going to bring in the money. The money's coming from the Manna World Holding Trust, and that's what we all know. And that's kind of exciting to know that.
Well, so that is exciting. So we talk about this. So now the reason why this is a big deal is because in 1871, all of the things that we know about the Constitution were done away with. And you had a brand new Constitution and set up. And it was really set up under the corporate structure of the United States, Inc., right?
Right.
So under that structure, what we've been operating in under ever since then is UCC law, right? So
corporate law, admiralty law, UCC basically, law of contracts. So,
okay, So in those contracts, what we know is, and this is kind of exciting when you realize this, that all contracts with this group out of, which is basically the Rothschilds, they set it up because they control the money, right? So when you control the money, you control everything, right?
Yeah.
So because they control the money, they were able to set this up and basically take over the United States, because this was right after the Civil War, and all of our funds were depleted, right? We had just beaten ourselves up, which, by the way, we're kind of in a civil war now, right?
Yes.
So they're doing the same thing to us now, and they're trying to take over the country. Now, why? Because all of those contracts that they had set up expired as of 2014. All of the United States of America corporates contracts are all expired as of 2014. So, if that's the case, that means Donald Trump is the president of the republic.
Right. Yeah, and when we say republic, we're talking about a republic form of government. We say the restored republic. We basically just want to go back to a republic form of government by the people, for the people, small government. And I believe that's what's happening right now. We're seeing it happening.
So, under the republic, I think the most important thing is that it protects our unalienable rights.
Right.
Now, obviously, our unalienable rights have been infringed on, because property taxes alone would imply that we're paying rent, right?
Yeah, and whenever you get a deed, it says you're a joint tenant, which basically means you don't own the property, you're a tenant of the property. And generally, you pay real estate taxes. That's basically your rent, paying your rent.
All right.
So,
now how important is this letter? So the letter was issued by the Manna World Holding Trust back in February, I think it was.
February, yeah.
February, the letter was written, and it was given to, it was addressed to President Trump. And it basically said that all debts held by the Federal Reserve were now forgiven. And the property that was owned in Washington, D.C. by the unknown country was being returned to the United States.
Yes.
And in essence, the United States really, if I understand correctly, for the first time, I guess, is that the United States was given their sovereignty back. And in giving their sovereignty, they recognized the sovereignty of the trust and separate. And in that, being sovereign, why is that so important to the United States?
Being sovereign. Well, that's basically we're freeborn people to the earth, and we are only beholden to other freeborn people. We're sovereign, meaning
We're able to make our own decisions.
we make our own decisions. We've been granted unalienable rights by the Constitution, by natural law, by source.
So if I could just put this into perspective. So you have I think it's important to mention this every time I talk right now. You have H.R. 25, which is the bill that has been presented in Congress to abolish the IRS. The IRS is a private organization.
Private organization out of Puerto Rico, right?
IRS is no, the Federal Reserve is out of Puerto Rico, right? Or both?
No, I think they both are. I think actually, the IRS is owned by a trust company, Northern Trust, I believe.
Right, Northern Trust, which is a Rothschild managed bank, owned bank, which, the Rothschilds are the ones who created the whole idea of control everything, own nothing. But in reality, they're the ones who've been pulling the strings.
Right,
and
that's one of the most amazing things to think about. If you've been in the truther world for a while, as I have been, I've been a lawyer, but I've talked to a lot of, quote, sovereign citizens and people like that. Everybody has IRS problems. Everybody has tax problems. So to see an actual bill in Congress that's going to abolish the IRS, that is huge disclosure of some sort. It's amazing. It's amazing to see it. I don't know if other people are seeing it the way I am, but it's
incredible.
It's incredible. And what it shows to me is that Donald Trump is the president of the restored republic, and he's actually acting as the president of the United States Corporation, but acting as the trustee of the bankruptcy of the United States Corporation. That's what's happening, because before Kim paid off the Federal Reserve's debt, which was, 22 trillion or something like that, probably more.
Yeah, probably more.
The United States of America was a corporation that owed in excess of $22 trillion to an outside entity called the Federal Reserve, our central bank. So,
and then they were spotted by China, right? That's why she had to pay off the debt to China.
But if you think about it, in any type of a business situation, when a corporation owes more than they're bringing in, that basically asks for insolvency, asks for bankruptcy.
Right, it's cannibalizing itself.
Right. So we've been operating at a deficit now for, 20 years? A deficit meaning we always borrow from the Federal Reserve, whatever is in the budget. Right now we have a $4 trillion budget. Supposedly the tax dollars are something like $3 trillion. So we're going to borrow $1 trillion. Basically, we're going to borrow it from the Manna World Holding Trust, but we're not going to have to pay it back to the Manna World Holding Trust. That's what's going to happen. The Rothschilds are saying, hey, you're going to get it from the Federal Reserve, don't worry. And that's not happening.
Now that sounds like entrainment. So basically what you have is we've all been trained to be slaves. So we're used to hearing, this is slave mentality. And I know we want to attribute this to certain races or people, but no, we are all suffering from slave mentality, because when somebody tells you something that's true and different, it's very hard to accept, right? So that's a big challenge we're having right now, is that people in the government are so used to using the Federal Reserve and also defining legal as one way. They don't realize there's always been higher laws. And the laws they're trying to put back in place are slave laws. They're designed to pit us against each other and maintain the population of slaves so that we all conform and do what they say, right? Mm-hmm. So now what we have is the highest authority on the planet is the comptroller and trustee of the Manna World Holding Trust, who is Kim, and I don't say her last name because I just don't want it Googled and cause her any more, give the enemy any more opportunity to badmouth her. But in reality, she's the first one to ever advocate for humanity and do all she can to put us in a situation where we are empowered for the first time.
Right. There's been other trustees of this trust. It's been
hundreds of trustees,
and they've always been compromised, and the money has always gone to one of the factions and used.
That's right.
And this is the first trustee that is incorruptible. Is not going to let it happen. That's why there's so many threats on her life. So.
Fearless and incorruptible, and by the way, a force to be reckoned with. Now, she has taken these guys on. For the longest time, she was completely alone, and she's since gathered allies because everyone realizes there's an option on the table. You either get to be free or you get to be a slave. And we all need to make that choice within ourselves to be free or to be a slave. And I don't even see how that is a choice, to be honest. Right. But I think people are scared by the idea of creating their own world and really making a new place based on, their own inspiration. Even though we all talk about it, I don't think many people really have embraced it because we'll naturally go back to something. Right. Now, that brings us to kind of the global currency reset. Now, the global currency reset, over time, the currencies will come to a common value. That will take time. That will take the building of infrastructure. That will take the building of value in a country to return the value. And it'll have to take time because you can only put so much money into the economy without dramatically dropping the value of what's there. So if you suddenly insurge $100 quadrillion into the U.S. economy, it doesn't suddenly make it worth the exact same amount, because what you would do is everyone would stop working. You wouldn't need anyone to work. But think about it. If everyone stopped working, everything would come to a grinding halt because your money wouldn't be valuable anyways. You couldn't even buy anything because nobody would care because they have, $1 trillion too. Everybody would have all this money. No one would care. No one would be working. So you'd have to literally undo that mess. And that's when the Rothschilds would sweep in with their amazing resolution to restore order, right? And they would come in and they would offer cryptocurrency. And the cryptocurrency would be completely under their control. They would be the absolute authority on all those transactions. Now, on the Speak project, I actually put it under essential documents. You can go in and read the Singleton report, the Singleton documents. That is the global currency reset established by OMD. It talks about things like universal income. It talks about all these different pieces. Now, you can take the pieces apart from that and see how the Iron Mountain report, when you put them together, you realize the global currency reset is just a portion of executing control according to the Iron Mountain Report. And what they want to do is they say they want to restore peace, right? They want to get away from the war structure. In and of itself, that sounds wonderful. But do you want peace at the cost of your freedom? Because that is what the actual Iron Mountain document talks about, that they have to implement slavery. And they created debt slaves. They created, so all of us are slaves where we're working nonstop, where we don't have the peace of mind to think or to create or to exist or to just be ourselves,
right,
or to express the best version of ourselves, because everyone's consumed with trying to pay the mortgage, right? Pay our basic bills. And that's what they've set up. That's what they put out there, and they've enslaved us. Meanwhile, we think that's normal because that's how we were all raised. But imagine, it doesn't have to be that way. And one of the best ways to get out of that system is do away. I would have to think, if you do away with the IRS, won't that also do away with property tax?
I haven't really thought
At least
about
on
that.
some level, right?
Kind of a different area, but on some level.
But you should have to pay property tax one time. You shouldn't have to pay it every year, should you?
Well, what they generally do with property taxes, they put together all of the bills for the county, school system, for the police force, for the fire department, and they add it onto the bill, and then they divide it up amongst people. So we're going to have to work on the municipalities and the state governments to really get rid of those type of costs and fees.
Right.
Working on the utilities, water, electric, all those things were developed by our government, and those should be free.
Yeah.
It should be, there's maybe you charge for maintenance, but it shouldn't be. We shouldn't be paying kilowatts. We shouldn't be paying for our gas. It's our gas.
Right.
All the pipelines were developed by our tax dollars. So we have to do away with a lot of the municipality things that are going on in state governments. But that will get rid of the property taxes, I believe.
Well, so that's kind of amazing. So if you do away with income tax, you do away with property tax, first of all, you're restoring unalienable rights. You're giving people the ability to make a living and thrive, right? Where people don't have to work 70 hours a week just to put their kids through school. Where both parents don't have to be working all the time. Right. Where people can actually pursue businesses and do things outside of the corporate structure that has governed all of us. Now, that is why we set up, and actually it was a gift to me, I have to be honest, from a very dear friend of mine who gave this to me, telling me this was the way to do it. And it's an unincorporated, tax-exempt association, and we've set up guidelines and bylaws for that organization so that all of the project owners that are in the Guardian of Camelot will operate and put their money into a trust so that they can be safe, and we know where their money is, and we put it all in the same bank, which that is to be announced still. That's a coming report in the very near future, and that's part of it. But then we know when we transfer money, it should be instantaneous because it's in the same bank. Then on top of that, what we're going to do is, what I want to do is I want to start getting people to boycott any organization, any company, any vendor who is still advertising with all of these fraudulent media companies like CNN, ABC, NBC, who literally, it doesn't matter what President Trump says. If President Trump came out and says, I love puppies, they will have hours and hours of news broadcasting about the evil of puppies. I mean, that is what they do. No matter what he says, they just say the opposite. And as long as they repeat it over and over and over again, after a while, we're just trained to accept that as real. We hear it enough, it's real. Okay? So that being said, I would love to organize people in a way that we boycott that. We stop using the products that are supporting those organizations. Now, but you told me something about that. What do they do? Like,
well, most of the advertising is essentially they allocate a certain amount of money of their budget towards advertising, but they only allow certain people to advertise on there. I mean, like when you watch the Super Bowl, they say that you pay $1 million per minute. You really don't do that. They just allow their products to be advertised. I don't know if that was what you were talking about.
Yeah, no.
But I mean, it's basically their advertising. I mean, it was a system that was set up of basically a franchising, set up by lawyers, of course, where, you know, there's a mattress firm everywhere, there's a Jimmy John's everywhere, there's the pizza guy, Papa John. Those are all owned by them. It's all franchising. They all get a little piece of the pie. But what it does is it wipes out small businesses, wipes out, you know, getting good food, you know,
Right.
wipes out. But it's just a huge franchising system, and they advertise their things.
So we know that we have thousands and thousands of projects that are going to be funded through by the Manna World Holding Trust, through Create Change, and also through the People's Club, and what we would like to do is that money is real. We know that money is real. That money will all be vetted. It'll be it's registered with the U.S. Treasury. It's backed by assets. As soon as that money comes in, we return to an asset-backed standard, right?
Right. Yeah, we're looking at the gold standard again, finally.
So that's really why the government shut down. They're fighting the gold standard because they want to bring in cryptocurrency. That's why when they came back in the new year, the Democrats, the first thing they did is they completely ignored the budget that was already approved. And they immediately tried to slip into the budget that they would authorize the printing and utilization of the Treasury Reserve notes. The Treasury Reserve notes are a fraudulent, air-backed, as in they're not backed by any assets, cryptocurrency. And in doing that, they would look like saviors because it would look like they brought in money because all they're looking at is numbers. Mm-hmm. And then they're using these super notes, right? So they're bringing in fake counterfeit currency still. That's how another way they've been keeping things afloat, through Wells Fargo. And they're bringing in these fake notes. They're bringing in all these fake currency notes, right, to try to keep things going. But the ultimate goal is to go to just cards, right? And eventually, you know, I believe they want to put a chip in your hand and, you know, in your head, and you just use that chip in your hand to pay for things, right? Which is, you know, it's prophesied in the Bible, you know, but to be honest, that's something that was added to the Bible, the doomsday revelation prophecies that are put there. That was actually a perversion of the original text that's added. And what happens is they put that in there because they have kind of a deal, if I understand correctly, that they have to put out their plan. So they just kind of put out their plan in the book of Revelation. That's why all the scriptures read one way. Then you have John on the Isle of Patmos, you know, and you know, they call him John the Revelator. Suddenly he's giving this insane account that's the hardest book to understand in the Bible because they're secretly layering in, here's what we're going to do, right? And that is happening. So in a sense, it is kind of a doomsday prophecy that is taking place, but it's because they set it up to take place and they're following their plan and they have no imagination, you know, or ability to realize this plan executes them too. Right. So, but that being said, so these are the things they want to do right now. So right now, that's kind of the fight that we're in right now. The fight we're in is we're going to go back to a gold-backed standard or asset-backed system, right? Which all the assets are allocated and registered inside of the Manna World Holding Trust or the unknown country. And they're all registered there. And when that money comes out to people and we're spending that money, it's asset-backed. So we're going to take that money and all the project owners, every single project that goes through Create Change or the People's Club that will come in, those people will get real money. So you're empowering the people with real money. Now, the next challenge is if you turn around and buy a whole bunch of products because you don't know any better from some big corporation because it seems like a deal of a lifetime. You know, one of the things that everyone tries to do is they try to bring the money in and they want to put it to a bullet trade platform, right? Now, a bullet trade platform, none of them are trading. Zero, not one of them. They have not been trading, I think, since 2014, and Kim is the one who shut that down. So they're not trading. So even though you hear about them, they're not doing anything. So what they do instead is this. They take the money, if they take our money, this allocated money, and they put it on a bullet trade platform, they basically steal our money and give us back a digital credit that's worthless, right? It has no value. They can turn it on or off whenever they want. And they didn't really make any money either. They didn't really trade anywhere. They just ran their scam. They're just grifting. Mm-hmm. So we won't do that. See, we are not going to Kim will not bring money in and give it to somebody who's going to trade to make a whole bunch of money for themselves on the side. She won't let that happen. When this money comes in, it will go directly to the project owner. So this is how we're doing it. Now also, that project owner is then responsible to get what they need to execute their project. So they will need certain vendors, right? They'll need lumber companies and steel companies and mines and all types of different organizations and services, all of those other services. Now here's the problem with that. You have this massive network in this evil empire of services out there that the Rothschilds make money off every step of the way. And because they control every aspect from the mine to the sale, every aspect, what happens is they can shut it off at any time. So for example, you start off, if they mine an element, like say they're making something out of silver, they mine the silver. Then the silver goes to the refinery, and the refinery takes it and they turn it into a usable product. The refinery takes it and they send it to the manufacturer, and the parts manufacturer turns it into a part. That part then gets taken to the assembly plant. The assembly plant then assembles that into whatever the product is, and it probably goes to different places. Then they send it off to the retail outlet that sells this new product that you just made, and somewhere in there you have lawyers along the way that are managing and slowing everything down because they make money that way. So if at any point you had a brand new, a better way to refine the product, and it's not controlled by them, and you tried to launch your business in any one of those stages, they would just tell the mine not to sell you the silver, or the assembly plant or the manufacturer of the parts not to do business with you. Now you've got this amazing new method, but it never comes to market. So how do we avoid that, right? So we avoid that by building everything from the ground up. We'll buy the mine, we'll buy the refinery, we'll buy the part manufacturer, we'll buy the assembly plant, and instead of using massive retail branches, we will just use smaller vendors, right? And we'll bring things out that way. Now, so Paul, you were talking about doing this, so we want to make sure we know who these people are that we're doing business with, right? So we're going to make a way for them to come in too, right?
Right. On my website, we have a tab for preferred vendors where they can apply to become part of basically the Manna World Holding Trust or Guardian of Camelot, however you want to look at it. Preferred vendors that will be used exclusively by our, what we're calling them, affiliates.
Right.
So
we would, these are people that we know we can trust. So that's the goal, right? That these are people who have committed to operating according to these rules and guidelines. And instead of advertising on the mainstream, this is my goal, is to, instead of advertising on the mainstream media, they said, you know what, I won't be a part of that, because they can be part of real money and they can be part of a real movement to change the world. So Paul, at my request, knowing that he and his team is going to get flooded with things, and we're very close to funding coming in and kind of breaking through this holding pattern that they had us in. And so at my request, he has made it so for next to nothing, he's going to do us this favor to help people set up the trust. So that's why his site is set up. There's a special deal there that includes, the Truth, Honor, and Integrity team, the People's Club, which is kind of one and the same, but so I'm not sure how they define themselves exactly, but the creators from Create Change and anybody from the Speak Project, pretty much, look, you could come in, and if you just say that you found out because what I did, you can just go to the website and Paul will set it up and he'll make time for you to talk to them about any questions they have, right? And then
you get a half-hour conversation with me so that I can specifically set up your trust for you, and then you can speak to me for another half hour, so a total hour. Talk to me about anything you want to talk about if you have some problems that you need some advice on. So that's part of the deal. There is a small charge, but most of these trusts take me 4 or 5 hours just to put together, so I'm not charging anything like that. You'll see it out on the website. The other thing is, the one thing I did want to mention, you were talking about how the banks were being funded. One of the things I noticed is the banks are being funded by Wall Street. I don't know if people realize that, But remember, I was telling you about IPOs. How every day there's a new IPO, an initial public offering. And what that is that's creating money out of thin air. And so that's what Wall Street is. It's just basically a Ponzi scheme of, they don't even know how many shares are out there, and it increases every day. But what's exciting to notice is the stock market has finally hit that level where it's starting to come back down now. Okay, banks aren't able to buy up their shares and make the market go up. So it looks like they're losing their ability to get funded through in the banks, not from just check kiting, but also from Wall Street. So that's exciting, because that's why we feel we are at that point where Kim's money's sitting in the Treasury, the Republic Treasury, ready to be used by Donald Trump whenever the Rothschilds release their minions and say,
Right.
So it's done. Because right now they're telling the Pelosi's and the Schumers, we're bringing you the money. Don't worry, the Federal Reserve's going to bring the money.
By the way,
That's
if
not
anybody in the government happens to be watching this, or anybody who has any kind of influence on anybody in the government, let me not be insulting. It is ridiculous after all this time, after all of these years, every time they've promised that they were going to bring the money in and they still haven't. If you find yourself in a horrible situation because you still think they're coming through, they are not coming through. They will, even if they were successful in doing their global currency reset, you and I wouldn't get any money. You might have a weekend where you felt like you had money because they gave you access to something, but you will not have any long-term money. They are not doing this so that you can be happy and you can be in power. They're doing this so they can be in power. They can control things. And then we can all be subjected to a myriad of mediocre ideas for the next, 500 years. Please fight that. There's so many exceptional, amazing, incredible people with amazing ideas that I talk to every single day. Please give them the opportunity to go be exceptional, go be amazing, and be the best version and see what humanity can do. Because it's unlimited, the potential of what is out there and what's possible, but we're all bogged down with bullshit ideas that don't mean anything. That's why we still pay for electric when, Tesla. Look, I know for a fact, I speak to the inventors right now who have even expanded on Tesla's energy. And it's patented already, and they can bring it in, and they can power the whole world for next to nothing. Right now.
We still have 1.2 billion people that don't have electricity on this planet.
I mean, that's insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah, people don't have electricity. And then this scheme is so bad, it still makes me furious. I can't even believe this is possible. That you have Hurricane Michael came in. Does anyone notice? You don't ever see them talk about Hurricane Michael.
It's terrible.
No one's talking about what happened. There's 1.2 million people that are homeless right now down in that area. We tried to bring the money in. We tried to. We brought it. We had generators. We had all these funds that we were ready to put out there, and they rejected it. Why? Because they're waiting on the Chinese elders to come through with their money. Where are they now? Well, the fact that the mainstream media will spend time talking about, any piece of nonsense that relates to Trump's bowel movements or anything over anything that matters, you'll notice they're not talking about that. They're not talking about Steve Mnuchin being the one who blocked that money. They're not talking about what's happening with these poor people down there. What are you doing to help them recover? Because they're not doing anything. They don't want anybody to know that. So here we are, we're trying to bring the money in. And every one of you frauds at the government right now, all the military too, all of you who are still participating in this and allowing this to happen ought to be ashamed of yourselves. This money we're trying to bring in while you are being loyal to a bunch of foreign agents who are trying to control and enslave humanity. Your family's humanity too. They're all human. At some point, you're going to have to stand up and do what's right for people. At some point, or you're going to be taken out as well. Because people aren't going to keep letting this happen. And I'm praying that we just start to get this message out and people start to wake up. There's no law. It doesn't matter about your political party. It doesn't matter about your race, your religion. They have screwed all of us over. They are trying to enslave all of us. They're trying to hurt all of us. They plan to eliminate all of us.
Right.
That's just the reality. Now, if we don't make enough noise, if we don't stand up and say that will not happen like this anymore, then we'll be here again. So we set the structure up. We've got all the pieces so we can bypass. We've got the plan so we can build up from the ground up. We've got all the pieces in place. We just need to bring the money in at this point, and that money's already been allocated for us. If you listen to Thomas Williams, he talked about just starting back in September that there was $1.9 billion brought in to be split between his group and mine. Let me tell you something. You brought that much money in for humanitarian project? No. Don't even use that term, humanitarian. I hate that term. Humanitarian is war. It goes back to the law of war. It's what's acceptable. What's the acceptable way to treat human beings during war times? Please, let's change that. Let's change it to human empowerment. So we're going to do a whole bunch of human empowerment projects that empower people to go.
So there you go. Goodness me, like the Cray twins, don't they? God. So let's have a look at what they're trying to push onto people. Bear with me 1 second. So this is Yokoyama.net. As he mentioned in there, that they're setting up trusts for people. Now, this was his website. Of course, it's taken down now. We've got the Wayback Machine to thank them for whoever backed this up. But this is some guy that believes he's some kind of entrepreneur life coach, which I'll show you some documentation on it. But while we're on the subject of the trusts, it's not just the trust that if you've got a project going by their website, you have to register your project through Paul Yokoyama via PayPal. And we're being told they also do bank transfer. $30 to start off with. So what's the $30 for? This is the official Create Change Project Submittal form. We've had to standardize the project submittal process, and the number of PSF will be received as soon as possible by the staff. It comes with a possible 15-minute discussion, remember that, with a decision making regarding your project. Possible revisions and changes ensures you are officially in the queue to approval as the project affiliate. So basically you have to fill this form in, send off your project, which they're telling you they're going to have a look for it and talk to you a little bit to see if you're going to get the project funding. Not $30 might not sound a lot, but do you remember in that video he said thousands of projects around the world are waiting for Kim's money. So what else do we need? So you mentioned in there the Guardian of Camelot membership, and this is through Create Network, but there's also got a Guardian of Camelot website, which I'll show you. So it's a membership add-on. So for current project affiliates, if you already ordered the official Create Change project submittal form, numbered $30, then use this additional donation, which would normally be $60, they're giving you a discount, to add the full Guardian of Camelot membership, which includes a business irrevocable trust needed for project funding. Remember, he said needed for project funding. Access to the creators network, access to preferred vendors. See gocamelot.com for all membership information. So another $80 here. That's on top of the $30 that you've got. Then you've got the Guardian of Camelot membership full package. So this is the full Guardian Camelot membership, which includes a business irrevocable trust needed to project funding under the GOC, access to creators network, access to preferred vendors. Go to that website. And then they're asking for additional donations. Services administrative costs. Use this donation button to apply for legal, life coach, health, and financial information. So you're looking at a lot of money here. Now, if you're going to submit a project and get it over the line, you automatically think in your mind, maybe if I buy all of these, I'm probably more likely to get the go ahead because I'm already donating money to help the cause. So, remember this all these figures here as we go along, and you'll see how much money they've been making out of this. So let's go to the Go Camelot that they mentioned. Remember, this is still on the Wayback Machine because they took this down. This is what they're advertising: professional community. So they're offering other services here. Creators Network, a secure project planning and development network made up of a like-minded people who are all have a unique way they want to change the world. Every member accepted into the network has to be interviewed, must complete a background check, and is committed to the core agreements of the Guardian of Camelot. So all of this is what they're offering as part of Kim. Before Kim will give you money, this is all before. Remember, we've not even seen a cent of that. We're now 2023, and this started in 2019. So let's have a look at Paul Yokoyama's services. So he has life coach, legal information, financial health, and online services. Now, a lot of people are going to be thinking, oh, maybe I should start buying some stuff through Paul Yokoyama. Because again, you think the more money you give or sign up for, the more likely you're going to get some money. So through Kim, and these are some of the services he offers. I mean, it's unbelievable amount of money. I mean, he's even saying in here, New York services, they're offering consultation. This is it. Consultation in person with Paul Yokoyama as a life coach, and legal, financial, health information is by appointment only. And he says here, and the fee is it is free for the first 20 minutes. Thereafter, a charge of £25 per half an hour. So of course he's going to keep you on the phone for quite some time, isn't he, going through all this? So you can have a read for this. I'll put the links in there. But there's also a 30 bioscan diagnostic, $200, something to another 20, another 25, another 300. And these are people that are supposed to be doing this, to help humanity. It's all about making money. That's exactly what it is. So let's have a little look about Paul Yokoyama and his little. Now, he got into business with this lady here, which I believe is Michelle Heals. I don't know if it's supposed to be Michelle, and then because she's a healer, but he got into business with her. She seemed to be some kind of paralegal. So I don't know how that works. So you've got two lawyers, one lawyer, a paralegal, and they all do well-being at the same time. So yeah, here you go. There he is there, lawyer, entrepreneur, life coach, and you can have a little read through all that. So he passed his state bar in 1985. Remember that date, because that's going to come on to the next bit about him being disbarred. So yeah, you can have a little read through that. You can pause the screen, and there's something in here about please check your Create Change tab if you are interested in applying for preferred vendor regarding use of funds received through Create Change by project affiliates. Affiliates of Create Change will receive funding anywhere from 500,000 to 100 million, and it will be required that only preferred vendors be used in executing and performing their project works. So here you go. It's all about the money. There's absolutely nothing in it or any of these projects. No one's talking about projects or anything. That's going to make you think, oh, yeah, I think I'll do that. Oh, by the way, before we move on, I wanted to show you, if I can find it, hopefully I will. Sorry about this. I'm trying to find. No, it's not that. Nope. Okay. A picture of Thomas Williams. Here we go. Yeah, Thomas Williams leaving a comment on that video when it was up live. It says 12 months ago. We took a snapshot of this because we knew it would get taken down. Thomas Williams, look, great stuff. Let's roll. I ask all to exercise patience also as the team works through all this to get everything right. So no bombarding Tank or me of when it's happening, etc. It happens when it does. We would like to spend our time getting it ready for you, then dealing with the or will I get funded? Well, Tank's already said in that video that everyone's going to get funded. So, and it was going to happen soon. Do you remember that's exactly what we'd been hearing all along, is we're going to get funded tomorrow or whatever. So now we just told you about Paul Yokoyama. Now, we got tips off at the time. This was at the time of this video coming out, that Paul Yokoyama was a disbanded. He was disbanded. So we thought, well, how can he be a disbanded lawyer? We couldn't find him anywhere, Paul Yokoyama. Anyway, it turns out Paul Yokoyama, the surname, is his mum's maiden name. And we found out quite a lot. He lives in, is it Illinois? I think now he's 65. We know exactly where he lives today. And when he was a lawyer, he used his father's name, which was Paul Shelton. And this is his LinkedIn profile. So he says in here, Shelton Law Group, February 1987. He went to Knox College, 1976 to 1980. And he's had a few businesses as well. So now when we pointed this out, a lot of people were coming forward saying it's not the same person. They said that this guy is not the same person. This guy here is not him. Now look, you telling me that's not the same person? No? Okay, you want more proof? Let's give you some more proof then. Here's a little video. Paul Shelton Law Group, 11 years ago. Now watch this.
Hi, my name is Paul Shelton, and I am an Illinois licensed attorney. I have been practicing law in the Chicagoland area since 1985. I have over 20 years in defense litigation experience, and for the past 3 years, I have concentrated in foreclosure defense. Please click below to get answers to the most frequently asked questions regarding foreclosure and your loan.
Is that not the same guy? You tell me. You tell me. Right. So I think people with some intelligence we'll put the link in the description. You can watch all of his videos. If you still don't get it, it's him. So how do we find out that he was disbarred? So let's have a look here then. So Illinois State Bar Association. Okay, so here we've got an update. I'm sure there was a date on here. Yeah, I can't remember. 2016. The Supreme Court of Illinois announced filing of lawyer disciplining orders on January the 21st, 2016. During the January term, court sanctions were imposed because the lawyers engaged in professional misconduct by violating state ethics laws. Now, these are the disbarred people, yeah? Who we got here? Paul Leslie Shelton. Mr. Shelton was licensed in 1985, was disbarred. He improperly entered into a business transaction with a client, fraudulently notarized a document affecting the client's interests, and made a false statement in a legal action concerning the client's interest. In a separate matter, he acted as the real estate broker and an attorney in the same transaction. He received brokerage commissions before he obtained his real estate brokerage license. He also neglected client matters, failed to quarterly communicate with clients, charged of collected unreasonable fees, failed to deposit client money into client funds accounts, and failed to withdraw from client matters after he was disbarred. Now, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, well, what did he do? So we're looking at here. This is one of the Supreme Court rulings that he got into trouble with. Now, this is to do with a loan, a mortgage. Now, this person here, look, Yokoyama Shelton, was his mum. And the reason why we know it was his mum is because in here it says, on December the 18th, 2013, plaintiff filed a complaint against defendant to foreclose mortgage on a subject property. The client was served on defendant at the residence. The subject's property on the April the 9th, 2014, defendant's son and attorney, Paul Shelton, entered an appearance on behalf of Shelton's appearance filing, listed on the 3 Grant Square Suite. So he basically said it was his address. He made out it was his address, and they basically disbarred him. They said that he'd offered incorrect information. Of course, basically, he'd lied on behalf of his mum, which is kind of like what happens. So we'll put the document in there, but there's a lot more involved in this case. I'll try and bring up some more information in it. But let's have a look at what some people have been saying about him. He's a complaints board. Shelton Law Firm review foreclosed home and is losing it. This was 2013, June 17th. Just have given details to you. The attorney that I thought I had for my foreclosure home turned out to be a secretary, not an attorney, to save my home. Took my money, $1,799. Though Shelton Law had bad communication, never showed up to the court dates, and essentially lost my home on December the 5th, 2012 for auction. Now was told by attorney Paul Shelton that he's going after fraud against Countrywide and Bank America, and he's still going to save my home. I've got eviction notices, so I put all my belongings in storage and don't know when I'll be homeless. I have been getting the runaround and tired of it for 2 years. This has been going on for almost has been going on and almost took my life of this situation. So this person nearly committed suicide because of what he did. Here's what someone else has put. July the 23rd. If you haven't already filed a complaint with the ARDC, you should. Now you know. No, you're not only one who has been scammed by Paul Shelton. There's already a complaint filed against Paul Shelton here. Maybe he'll lose his law license, but being that I heard he recently stated a legal advice company called Freedom Legal. Maybe he's planning to continue scamming people. So he's another one. Paul Leslie Shelton. Now, some people write some good things. Paul is a great attorney. He kept it at home for over 4 years. He had stopped. We'd stopped paying our mortgage because we couldn't afford to pay monthly. And here's what some other people have said. Don't believe anything he says. Was a client for a while. He did not show up in court and my house was sold. I had to continually call his office to speak with paralegals. So yeah, this was his resident where he had his law firm. Happy we found him. Paul is a great attorney. We paid Paul £500 a month to delay our foreclosure. So that is what someone's giving 5 stars, but look all these other ones. Don't believe anything he says. Another one here, look. Took £600 a month from me for over a year. My home was foreclosed on. I found out by the judge that Paul Shelton never showed up in court once. Another one here. Gave him £600 a month for a year. In addition, gave him additional $650 to do a title search. Never had it done. Caught on a scam before I lost my home. Stay away from this guy. Another one here. The lawyer took £700 a month from us for a year and a half and never did one thing. He was to save our house from foreclosure. We were summoned to court. He told us we did not have to go to court. The problem is neither did he. So we were found in default. And this is basically what's been going on. I mean, look, educating Knoxville, it's the same guy. We won't lie about it. It's become unbelievable. Now let's look at some of these other characters that was in this with him. Lasandra, I mean, this was a screenshot we took off their website at the time, and these are the ones that were getting involved with Create Change, Go Camelot, and it was also involved with Paul Yokoyama's legal. Now he's got a lot of names. Look, Paul Martin Yokoyama. His name's not Martin. It's Leslie. Oh, is it? Or is it? We don't know. But this person here, Chief Operations Officer for Create Change, Sidori. Yeah, we know. Remember you, Sidori? Do you remember? We did it in our. If you look at our last video, one of our videos about Kim trying to say that we were all pedos. She was on the video with Tank, and she was going on about KPMG. That's Sidori. She's CEO, founder of Sidori.com. Yeah, well, she was a makeup artist that's got involved with Create Change. Sidori is a Create Change artist and visionary who is dedicated to nurturing partnerships that promote positive change when development communities worldwide. Oh, well, where are you today, Sidori? You've all gone quiet, haven't you? Along with that, what's her name? Is it Lisa English or something like that? Let's have a look at Paul Yokoyama, ESQ, Chief Legal Compliance Officer, with over 32 years of legal enterprise. Mr. Yokoyama is a man of many talents. Yeah, we know exactly. Man with many talents and names. I won't go about the other one. But did you see where we're going with this? It's absolute unbelievable. Oh, this was a legal document that we come across from a toy disciplinary board. Yeah, look, they even put his name in there. Look, Paul Leslie Shelton. So he got his his bar in 7th of November 1985. That's where his registered business was. And this is where he was disciplined. So a disbarment, and he had a reprimand there. So what did it say in there? Not applicable. So, okay, it just tells you about the reprimand. But I'll put some more links in there. Where was the other one? Sorry, bear with me a second. There's another thing I wanted to show you. This is a good. This guy called Gordon Watts. Put the link in there. You can read about this. He was talking in here about Paul Leslie Shelton matter disciplinary commission of what he did. This is the count one, and if I scroll down here, it tells you about all the money he took. I think there's a list of client money here. Look, these are all the clients, and these were the dates. So total fees paid to Paul Yokoyama. All these. Now there was another document I'm going to show you that was shared with us. It was scanned in and shared with us. This one here. Yokoyama Legal Group, Manhattan, Guardians of Camelot Trust, PayPal deposits to TD Bank branch. So this is to do Guardians in the Camelot member. Don't know where this place is, but look at these figures from January 26, 2020, right through to September. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have gone to paid into this TD Bank. And as soon as Thomas found out that this money was being made, he went mad. He went bonkers. In fact, he got to a point where that's how he fell out with Tank, because he knew that someone was making money out of this, and it wasn't him. Paul Thomas Williams didn't get a penny, didn't get a bean, while they was raking it between Thomas Melville and all the top notches there, all getting their slice of the pie. Why do you think? I mean, you think, oh yeah, he's again, you're just making it up. Look, that document was sent to us by a source that told us that this guy was a fake. He's acting, well, he was a lawyer, but he's not anymore. And he's giving out information to people and making money on it. Paul Shelton. Paul Yokoyama. Like I said, he's been using his mum's name now, but his dad's name when he went and got. As soon as he got a bad name for himself and disbarred, he changed his name to his mum's name. So you won't be able to track him. We would never found if it wasn't for our source telling us that this is the same guy. And we did some digging and we found a lot more information on him, including the idiot having his own YouTube site talking about foreclosure. So there you go, everyone. It's up to you. You think what you want to think. But I'm telling you now, if you still believe that is not Paul Yokoyama, and that you think he's not a fraud, then there's definitely something wrong with you. That's for sure. Anyway, that's all we got for you this week. But anyway, thanks very much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Please share on all your social media platforms. I really want people to get to know that this Kim, Tank, Thomas Williams, Thomas Melville, you name it, they're all scammers. They're all liars, and they'll do whatever they can to make hundreds of thousands, if not millions, out of you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.